it, get it in, it's gonna make you strong. Get mine. Elevate, day to day, cause you never stop. Keep going. With time, this time, this time, this time, this time, this time.
Welcome to another episode of Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. Today we're going to talk about the recap of Usyk versus Fury and some potential fights in 2025 when we come right back. We are live, so welcome everybody. And as you enter this chat room, please hit the thumbs up and let's talk this boxing. So let's jump right into it. So yesterday was a long-awaited rematch with Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. And in the first round, Fury pretty much met Usyk in the center of the ring, and he was fairly aggressive, working his jab, throwing power shots, going to the body some, definitely trying to deliver some damage in the first round. And he was there to let Usyk know he was for real, that he was coming to. He did all the talking beforehand that he was going to get a knockout. He would be the first to knock out Usyk because Usyk has never been knocked out. So first round was a good round. I would edge it towards Fury. A lot of these rounds were almost even or just slightly to where Usyk would edge or slightly to where Tyson would edge. What they call the swing rounds. But I didn't necessarily agree with the judges' scorecards. They were a little wide. However, I do feel like the right person was victorious, which was Usyk. It's kind of back and forth. Some say Fury won the 12th round, the final round. Some will say Usyk won it, or it was kind of straight down the middle. But I had no problems or no qualms had it been a draw. I could have been like, okay, I could see why it was a draw. Prior to the fight, there was the video call, like that FaceTime video with Turkey Alishake reaching out to Tyson Fury and Usyk. And you kind of heard how Turkey was telling Fury, come on, man, I need you to try to hold down this rematch. He wanted him to win because he was hoping to see a third fight. But Usyk being as talented and as good as he is, he was able to stop a third match from even happening. And he wins both fights. This fight was definitely, in my opinion, it was definitely more action. Fury did hold center ring majority of this fight, but there were times when he got tired, you saw the momentum shift. You saw Tyson Fury going backwards when he was getting more fatigue. You could see him breathing heavier. He was weighing like 281 pounds. So to me, he shouldn't have weighed that much. He should have probably been around maybe 265, but he's 281 at his heaviest weight in a ring against a master class boxer. I just didn't see that being smart. It may have helped his chin resistance some because in this fight he didn't get dropped like he did in the first fight. However, he did look more fatigued, in those mid rounds that he was gasping for air. And Usyk picks up on that, and Usyk took advantage of that. Um, Usyk just kept coming. I mean, although there was a lot of great moments, just like the first fight, a lot of great moments for Tyson Fury. It's like every time he would throw a 1-2, or a three punch combo, it's like Usyk is coming back throwing three, four, five punches, and a lot of punches are connecting, and a lot of punches that Fury is throwing, even though he's throwing punches, people have to realize every punch thrown is not necessarily a punch landed. And he would catch Usyk sometimes, but sometimes um, the good defense of Usyk, if he wasn't moving his head or sidestepping, he was putting his glove up. So those punches were catching here. They were catching the glove of Usyk and not uh, having no effect really on Usyk that Fury was throwing. Um, it was definitely, like I said, a close fight. I don't call this fight in no type of way. I see it on social media so much, not in just this fight, but in general, that Tyson Fury was robbed or so and so was robbed in this fight. It wasn't a robbery. It wouldn't have been a robbery if it was a draw. It wouldn't have been a robbery if it slightly went over to Tyson Fury. But I feel like the right man won, and that was Usyk. Usyk did enough to edge the fight, um, and he just came on, especially in those mid to later rounds. He had a lot of good rounds. Like round 6 was another very positive round for Usyk. He was catching Fury and getting the better finish point in round 6. It's definitely one of those type of fights. I like fights like that are close and that are somewhat controversial because it gives me a reason to run the fight back. I like to do breakdowns of fights, so I like to kind of look at every round. And I know some people say, shout out to my cousin Phoenix. He said what he would do was watch that fight and turn the volume off. That way, you're just paying attention to the action of both fighters, and you're tuning out the commentators because that can have a uh, psychological thing to you. It can make you think that okay, if the commentator is saying, "Oh, Usyk throws a right and a left and another right, and hits him Fury with another," then in your mind you're hearing Usyk's name so much, or you're hearing Fury's name so much, you kind of cater to uh, what you hear these commentators saying. So if you kind of want to tune them out, turn off the volume, and look at the fight with the volume off for what it is, and really pay close attention, and also pay attention to the defense. You know, every punch thrown, like I said, is not a punch landed, and I think a lot of people get that they get it misconstrued. What's up, Scoob? Uh, you had a Usyk 116, 112. So yeah, a few people had it the same way, man. So like I say, man, congrats to Usyk on another win. I mean, you got to give it to this guy. I know he has people that you might call his haters, quote unquote. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm necessarily a Usyk fan, because I'm an Anthony Joshua fan. If I'm being honest, and just that's where my loyalty lied in the heavyweight division. I'm an AJ fan. However, Usyk beat Anthony Joshua, and he beat Tyson Fury, and he beat Dubois in a controversial fight. All right, so like I was saying, with the Usyk Fury, there are the only thing Tyson Fury could have done, but like I said, he was getting tired, so I understand in some of the mid rounds him going backwards and getting pushed back because he was fatigued. If he had came in at the right weight, the ideal weight, 260, 265 pounds, I don't think he would have been gassing out like he did. And then he wouldn't have had to retreat, be in a retreat mode. He could have stayed center ring and kept coming forward as he was in the first few rounds of the fight. But as the fight went on, he went from being the aggressor to being the person that was getting pushed back again. And it just, I think those small little things like that are what the judges are looking at. And as the great Lennox Lewis said, I agree with, is that final 60 seconds of each round or majority of the rounds, Usyk was able to have a strong finish. And I think the judges were looking at that. If you go back in history and you remember the fight with Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Leonard would throw these flurries the last 45 seconds of the fight, and he was sliding these rounds out. You know, he was stealing a lot of rounds just by throwing these flurries towards the end, and somehow it captivated the judges, and he ended up winning that fight, and that was a controversial fight. What's going on, Cuzzo? Scoob, what's going on? So yeah, man. So it was definitely a good fight. If you didn't see Usyk versus Fury, go check it out. Um, if you can't see the full fight, at least check out the highlights. I'm pretty sure at some point they'll release it um, to where people can, watch it. Because I know Turkey Shake loves his boxing, and usually he'll eventually, after a while, once everything is settled down, he'll release uh, some of the stuff to where it's on YouTube at a later date. Um, so towards the end of that fight, what is your feeling on Daniel Dubois uh, pulling a Kanye West, stepping in the ring in the middle of the interview for Usyk? Daniel Dubois steps in the ring and he's talking about how he wants a rematch with Usyk and that he was robbed, so he definitely deserves a his get back. And Usyk pretty much complied and said, "Well, hey, yeah, you can get another fight with me. I'm down for it." That's one thing about Usyk. He doesn't run from smoke. He doesn't run like most people would make up excuses if it was a dangerous fighter. But he's like, "Bring it on, no matter who you are." Um, so I want to know what people feel about the presence of Daniel Dubois uh, coming into that ring like Kanye West. Oh man. Yeah, Daniel Dubois. Shouts out to Triple D, Daniel Dynamite Dubois. Shout outs to you, man. Um, so I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna do my research here because I don't know if it's solid. But they were saying that Daniel Dubois was supposed to be fighting Joseph Parker, uh, JP next. Um, and I would like to see that. I would definitely like to see that. You say he might lose to White, Dillian White. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think like okay, so Dubois having so much to say about Usyk, it's like what or I wouldn't get so carried away to want to step in the ring to say all this to Usyk when chances are you're going to be fighting Joseph Parker. You never look past your opponent, especially somebody of that magnitude. Joseph Parker, and by no means is a pushover. People are acting like Dubois will demolish Joseph Parker, and I think that people are sadly mistaken and truly overlooking the determination and will and the spirit of Joseph Parker. He has that warrior spirit deep down. He's shown it when he's getting the worst end in certain matches. You saw where Joseph Parker had to dig deep and show resilience and how he was able to persevere in certain matches when most guys would fold. You know, keep in mind Zilly Zhang, a much bigger fighter, southpaw. So being a southpaw is going to be tricky anyway. Much bigger, weight advantage, reach, size, reach, height, and he dropped Parker twice. Yet Joseph Parker got up and kept digging in. That's that warrior spirit right there. That's that Rocky moment where you hear that music, like that Rocky sound, when you think it's about to be over, but he rises to his feet. That was Joseph Parker. And he won that fight against Zilly Zhang. Joseph Parker also, prior to the fight with Zilly Zhang, was able to beat the American ex-champ Deontay, the Bronze Bomber Wilder. And in that match, that was just a domination masterclass with Joseph Parker versus Deontay Wilder. From the beginning bell to the 12th round last bell, Joseph Parker did what he needed to do and he held his own. Dillian White, in the interview I saw earlier, made a good point that Joseph Parker, as I said, is no pushover. So, that being said, Daniel Dubois really needs to train his hardest for Parker and take him as serious as any opponent he's ever fought because styles make fights. It has nothing to do with, and I'm just speaking in general from certain things I've seen on Facebook. So shout out to Jamie Go over in London, England. So I'll reply to the FB post. What I was saying was, yes, Dubois did knock out Anthony Joshua. That we do know. And AJ in the past did beat Joseph Parker. But Joseph Parker fighting Dubois is a difference than AJ fighting Dubois. AJ is more stationary. AJ is more bulky and a lot of muscle mass. So he doesn't have a lot of fluidity. His upper body movement is not like a real limber person because he has so much muscle. So he can't get out of the way of a lot of punches, as we saw. And he did a lot of novice type stuff in that fight. Like he was, I mean, yeah, he started late, but he's acting like the guy who just walked in at the age of 18 and he's years down the line. He should have learned you never walk straight backwards in a straight line. And that's when he got clipped with a solid right overhand by Daniel Dubois. Now, understand the way that that punch was delivered from Dubois to connect to AJ, who was upright. You'll never find a situation where Joseph Parker would have moved in a straight line backwards like AJ did. You know what Joseph Parker would have did in that scenario? He wouldn't have went straight forward, straight back. He would have went right to left, left to right. Just the small things that he would do as far as his defense mechanisms that AJ doesn't do. There's a lot that Parker will do defense wise that AJ lacks. Even still, between the two, Joseph Parker has better ring IQ than Anthony Joshua, and I'm an Anthony Joshua fan. But Joseph Parker has a better boxing brain. He can make adjustments a lot more, and he's not going to overthink so much. That's been a big issue I've seen with Anthony Joshua. He gets too deep in his own thoughts, I believe. He's an overthinker to the point where he almost freezes up in situations because he's overthinking. He's not just going to have a second nature like Tyson Fury or Joseph Parker or Usyk where he can make his own decision. It's almost like he needs a blueprint every step in every fight. And I was hoping that he would start peeping game. Like, okay, I've been with a couple of different trainers. Let me take everything I've learned from this guy here, from Derrick James, from I can't remember his first trainer's name. It might come back to me. But AJ's very first trainer he had for years. Um, then Derrick James. He had Manny Robles for like maybe one or two fights. Um, was it Manny Robles or Garcia? One of the two that he had. And then he has his trainer now, Tyson Fury's ex trainer. So I would think that he would take all these different recipes he learned from all these different trainers and kind of put them in his mental book bag, his mental locker, and use them time to time as he would need them. But it's like with AJ, it's almost like he's starting all over again when he's dealing with somebody. Like he cannot put everything together sometimes, and that's probably his biggest downfall. However, in 2025, this upcoming year, we're less than a month away. I feel that next year we will see the much anticipated showdown with Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. If we can get Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury in 2025, that will be a great start in the new year. I personally stick by what I've said from day one. I feel that Anthony Joshua will not only beat Tyson Fury, but he would actually knock him out in about 7 to 8 rounds. Some people say, well, AJ can't take a punch, and I look at that like, what makes you think he cannot take a punch? You know, I do agree that AJ has bad recovery. If you hit him good, a lot of times he doesn't recover. It takes him a long time to get his senses back, what you call being punch drunk. He stays punch drunk for a long, long time. So that just shows he doesn't have great powers of recovery. Now, on the flip side, Tyson Fury is just the opposite. He'll get knocked down, but he'll get right back up and shake it off and be right ready instantaneously. So that's the difference between AJ and Fury. They both have been knocked down by opponents, but Fury gets up and shakes it off faster than AJ, if that makes sense. So I don't understand where the talk goes that AJ can't take a punch. I mean, what are you basing that on? Because, like I said, Fury's been down maybe 7 or 8 times in his whole career by maybe four different opponents. Steve Cunningham dropped him. Usyk dropped him. Ngannou dropped him. Wilder dropped him. And Pajovic. So yeah, five different opponents have dropped Tyson Fury. Five opponents. AJ has been dropped by Klitschko, Andy Ruiz in the first fight, almost down in the first fight because he was fatigued by Usyk. He was gassed out, and he almost went down by reason of being fatigued. But he stood. He stood. Um, he made it through that round and finished out that fight. So he's only been dropped by Klitschko, Ruiz, and then Daniel Dubois. Three opponents. So three opponents have dropped AJ, whereas five opponents have dropped Fury. So that speaks for itself that they both show vulnerability. It's just that the reaction of Fury is better when he's hurt than it is with AJ. That's the only thing that separates them in that aspect. Now, when we talk about punching power, you got to give that to Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua can drop you with a single punch. Whereas with Fury, chances are when he hits you, it's going to be a combination of punches and him wearing you down. And then eventually you'll fall due to the fact he's leaning on you, making your legs weak. He's grinding you down. He tried to pull that in this rematch a little bit, but Usyk was too slick. And Usyk would look at the ref if Tyson Fury was trying to um, clinch and hold him for too long. Pretty much, if it was a clinch, Usyk tried to get right out of that clinch. He wasn't trying to stay in the clinch. He wasn't going to allow Tyson Fury to lean on him and things like that. So in 2025, hopefully, we'll see a showdown with AJ versus Tyson Fury. Um, Also, what I'm hoping, I'm looking forward to is the Tank fight and the Gervonta Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach Jr. Next year. We also get to see Shakur Stevenson back in the ring versus Kid Austin. So in 2025, we got some fights already set. We got the David Benavidez fight set for 2025 against David Morrell. So them are three fights that are already set. You got the Benavidez fight, the the Shakur Stevenson fight, and Tank fight, all in 2025. Then you got the potential fights like AJ versus Fury, Parker versus Dubois in 2025. So I think 2025 may be the best year of boxing, possibly. Of this era. That we're going to see a lot of good fights in 2025. Because I want to say we're going to see Bivol versus Peterviev too in 2025. So it's going to be a lit 2025 in the sport of boxing. So while some people sit back and complain about boxing, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat just wondering what's next. Because I like what I'm seeing. It has me engaged and it has me entertained and wanting to see what's next. And then with Turkey Alishek out here, knowing that he's a huge fan of boxing and he has the financial means to make the best fights, meaning the best fight the best, you can't go wrong. You know, you can't go wrong with that, man. That's just a great recipe. Um, so we'll talk a little bit since I brought it up about Tate Davis. Do people actually believe that this upcoming next year, 2025, will that be the final year for Tank Davis, or do you think that that was just maybe him caught up in the moment? Maybe he said it out of anger, or he had a lot on his mind. But do you think he'll actually retire at the end of 2025? I personally think Tank won't retire that soon. I think he's going to be here at least to 2026, maybe the end of 2026. Because I think if he fights in 2025, he's fighting Lamont Roach around springtime. So if he fights Lamont Roach and then it's a possible rematch, that's two fights with the same guy. You would only be able to get maybe one more fight in 2025. And would that fight be Shakur Stevenson? Hey, greetings back to you, Cuzzo, down south. What's up, Cuzzo? Thanks for showing love. Like always, I can always depend on you, Cuzzo. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Um. So, yeah. Tank. Hopefully, he makes a statement. But I don't really see Lamont Roach coming to lay down. He's not coming to lay down. He's gonna give it. He's gonna give it his all. And I think he might be overlooked because he's coming from 130 up to 135. And it's my understanding that they have a history, that Lamont Roach Jr. and Tank have history. I don't know if they fought in the amateurs or sparred before, but they have a past history, is what I'm hearing. So it's somewhat personal. One guy representing Baltimore, Tank Davis, Lamont Roach Jr. He's representing out of Washington, Washington D.C., I believe. So you got two guys that are ready to lock horns in 2025. Now, yeah, I'm a Tank fan, so of course I'm gonna say I'll take Tank by knockout. However, I think it'll be a better fight than most people expect. It'd probably be at the level on the level of Tank versus Frank Martin. It'll probably play out a little differently, but I think Tank will still get the knockout, but not set it up the same way. It'll be a different way. And then you got Shakur Stevenson versus Floyd Schofield. Shakur uh, has been under scrutiny, as as many of us know, and the reason for this scrutiny was some of the critics of Shakur are saying he's not letting his hands go enough to their liking. And I know you can't be a people pleaser for everybody. I do get that. I get that. There's always going to be people in this life and around the world that they're not going to like this for this reason, or they're going to have a problem with this for that reason. And I get all that. But this is the perfect match for Shakur Stevenson to lay down the law. He's fighting somebody in Floyd Schofield, Kid Austin. He's fighting a guy who is somewhat green, someone who has not uh, had the experiences on the level that Shakur Stevenson has. So, with that in mind, what I would like to see from Shakur Stevenson, and shout out to Shakur Stevenson, is I would like to see him stop Kid Austin, make a statement with Kid Austin. If he can do that, that might silence some of the doubters. It may or it may not. Time will tell. But he definitely has the attributes and the skills to stop Kid Austin. Now with Kid Austin, being he won't be as fast as Shakur, he won't be as witty and swift on his feet. What he's going to need to do is figure out how to cut off the ring, how to apply the type of pressure, the type of calculated pressure that will be needed to be successful against a highly decorated Shakur Stevenson. Now, I'm going to repeat that one more time in case you didn't follow. What Kid Austin needs to do is set a rhythm and a pace, cut off the ring in a calculated fashion where he can get in the range of Shakur Stevenson and implement the type of body shots, the type of head shots that are going to be him going for a knockout or whatnot. He needs to be able to strategically do this in a methodical way. And in that methodical way would be the very essence to which he can become victorious against Shakur Stevenson. All right. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Yeah, man. So I know you've been on the platform a few different times. So
Yeah,
for
yeah.
those who haven't got to meet you, let them know where you're from.
Desmond Scobie. Some people call me Scooby. I'm out of Dallas
Okay,
right now.
Dallas.
Well, right now, Corsicana, right on the outside of Dallas, but I'm in Texas, northern part of Texas. I've been in combat sports since I was 11 years old.
Okay.
Karate, boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu. I've done full contact tournaments. I've gone all the way up to state ranked tournaments and national ranked tournaments. Um, I'm very familiar with MMA, kickboxing, boxing. I pretty much follow if you get punched in the face for money. Bare
Right,
knuckle
right.
also. I follow bare knuckle too. I follow Japanese boxing, European boxing. The Aussies follow them. Follow South African and Ghana boxing. For those of you who don't know, Ghana has had at least one champion every decade since the '60s.
Mm, okay. Yeah. So for those who are tuning in, the first thing I noticed about Dez, and shout out to Dallas and Texas, um, is this guy right here has some deep knowledge, a lot of rich, great knowledge with boxing and a lot of different MMA and all that. Uh, yeah, this guy right here, he gets real deep into a lot of the fine lining and very intricate things when it comes to combat sports.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. So welcome back, man.
Thank you for having me. Always, you're a
Oh
great
yeah.
host.
Oh, thanks, brother. Yeah, man. So did you see Fury versus Usyk
Yeah,
rematch?
I caught the co-main. I caught the Moses Tuma fight. Very impressive.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. Let's talk
caught
about that. Let's talk about
Yeah,
that real
I
quick.
caught Moses Tuma. I didn't really know much about him. I kind of was like, he's kind of short on the shorter end of the heavyweight spectrum, but
Mhm.
skills pay the bills in boxing, not so much size at times. So very impressive for what was my first showing of him. Good timing, good speed, good power, good discipline. He
Yeah,
listens. He's coachable.
yeah, and only
Um,
19.
Only 19. Moses is nice.
Yeah,
So far,
yeah.
Moses is nice. Let's hope he stays the course. And we see. I don't know I don't know if they're fast tracking him or not, but he doesn't need to be. They should pretty much move him gradually, but don't shy away from opposition that's going to push him.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Because I think, like you, I mean, to follow up on what you just said, don't want him to be in a situation like Big Baby Anderson when they
Yeah,
put him in there with Martin McCauley. I
they didn't.
respect.
I don't think they moved Anderson well enough. Like they moved him good enough to get a name, but they
Mhm,
didn't move him well enough as far as like um we don't really know what Baby was made out of, and he didn't look that good against Charles Martin. Yeah, he beat Charles, but Charles, we were expecting a stoppage. That was supposed to be Big Baby's coming out party, and Charles looked good. He looked good in that fight versus Big Baby, and Big Baby showed more. Charles showed what he could do. We know what Charles Martin can do. He showed up. Big Baby kind of like he didn't either. He didn't take him that seriously, or what he showed us was the most he could give us.
mhm.
And um, I mean, I remember. I don't know. Like in all my research of boxing, back in the day, like back in the day, old head boxers in the '80s and '70s and '60s would say, "Yeah, why would I want an undefeated fighter? I don't know if he knows how to take a whooping."
Hmm.
Like they
I
used to
like
have
that
that mentality.
theology.
they used to have that method. Not so much like he can't be good, but it's almost like, what is he made out of? If they would argue, they would kind of question. Now it's like, if you're undefeated, oh, you must be good. 50 years ago, if you're undefeated, did you even beat anybody? Who'd you
Right.
fight? That was the question back then, more so than it is now. Now it's like, if you're undefeated, you have to be that. You have to be good. While 50 years ago, if you didn't have one or two losses, or maybe even a draw on your record, there was questions on your heart. There was questions. But I think guys like Evander, you know, um, and Michael Moore, James, Tony, and Roy Jones Jr. kind of broke that mold of, yeah, I'm undefeated, but I'm beating everybody too.
Right, 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 right. Yeah. Yeah, you need that because otherwise you sit in that situation where people are looking at you like, okay, he fought a couple of notable names or people we're familiar with, but he's cherry picked a lot of opponents in between certain names, you know.
It's the passive least resistance that boxing has adopted through the fans and the media obsessing over the undefeated record, and the champions that you would quote unquote fight, even if the champions are moving up. You know, um, I boxing hopefully now is with Turkey. Is trying to make things a little bit better. Money makes guys do a lot of things, and he has enough money to make promoters say, okay, sure, why not? I'll risk my fighter. Because I think people forget that in boxing, that the fighters in themselves are 6, 7, or even 8-figure investments for promoters. I think people sometimes forget that there has to be a return. There aren't working most of the time. They're being paid, their bills are being taken care of, and all this type of stuff from the promoters. And there has to be a return, in a sense. So I think that's why we went through a time where fighters just weren't, well, promoters weren't willing to put their fighters against each other, because if there wasn't a butt ton of money involved, it just wasn't worth the risk. Like Bob Arum doesn't really do stuff with other guys. A lot of his fights are in house. The fact that he can do unifications in house on a regular basis and stuff like that. And hey, you're gonna move up and fight this guy. Hey, this guy's gonna move up and fight you. Like, there's a lot. You can kind of see the trajectory that Bob is trying to do at times with fighters, because he has a lot to work with at times. So, but I digest. I hope Moses is moved along properly. I don't know who's his promoter. It was either Frank or Eddie. So, and both of those guys are pretty good at moving guys around. I mean,
Right.
Fabio, like Fabio Wardley's doing, top 10 guy for some, and Daniel Dubois, Frank Warren's guy. So we'll just have to see.
Right. So, what would you think about speaking of Moses, do you think it would be a good match to see him versus Andy Ruiz?
Not right now, no. I don't think he's ready for a release right now. Um, to be honest, I don't want to see him against like a guy, like a former champion, for another year or two. Maybe not 2025, maybe the end of 2025, 2026. He's only 19.
Right.
He hasn't even hit as his grown man strength yet.
Hmm.
You know, he'll be a different kind of a monster once he's like 25 and older. He'll get smarter and stuff like that. Like, you know, experience in a sense.
Right.
So I don't think he's ready for Andy Ruiz yet. I think he could go up against like a Nathan Gorman,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
a Ali. His name is Ali Derezian. He fought
Hmm.
Adam Konvaki and beat him. He should fight guys like Adam Konvaki if he's still active. If not, Gerald Washington if he's still active.
Yeah, Gerald Washington.
Um,
Yeah.
Mariusz Vok if he's still active. Like there are some journeyman guys
He
who have
might have
been
fought
around.
Walk. I think he fought Walk.
Okay, that
I think
then
he
he's
cleaned
on
him
the
up.
right.
Yeah, I think he
Then he's
cleaned
on
up
the right.
Walk.
Then he's on the right trajectory. Then because I'm like he should be fighting guys like that, fringe top 15 guys, and by 2026 he should be fighting t- legitimate top 10 fighters. By 2016, by 2026 he should be fighting top 10 guys. Like he should be fighting Wardley. He should be fighting Hergovich. He should be fighting Zhang by 2026, in my
Ah, yeah,
opinion.
yeah. That's a good. That's a good timeline. That's a good timeline. Because, like you said, he's only 19. So yeah, no need to rush him. He's so young. Yeah, he's
You
so
know,
young.
I say maybe give him Wardley by 2026. If Ward like by 2026 he should be the best domestic heavyweight in Europe by 2026. And when you win those BBFC and those European championships, when you become the best fighter of the country, you're pretty much a top 15 guy. And at that moment, you know, once you're top 15, you're getting eliminators, title shots, you know. So I think by 2026, he'll be becoming the best heavyweight, you know, in the country by that point.
Yeah, yeah, man. Definitely. He definitely has a bright future ahead of him.
Yes.
I've been trying to follow him, Moses. I want to see him do good.
I mean, you know, heavyweight division is a weird division. You never really know who's going to become a star because guys hit their primes late. You know, a knockout can end it. I don't really consider like I know people consider like, oh, it's an upset. I'm like, look, in heavyweight there really aren't any upsets. You got 250 plus pound men hitting each other. Anybody can go at that point. You know.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fact, man. That's well said. Um, so did you see the fight prior to um, Moses
Bohachuk and Ishmael Davies.
Davis? Yeah, that one. Yeah, yeah.
Davis, I saw him a couple times. His most notable fight before this was Josh Kelly, the pretty boy Josh Kelly. They went the distance, and that was for to see who was the best junior middleweight at in Europe, pretty much. And he lost that fight. And we all know that you know we were supposed to get Majamov versus Bohachuk, but Majamov got ill apparently. So Davis took up the fight on short notice, and he gave a good going for for as long as it lasted. It only lasted 6. He got dropped, I think, in 4 or 5. And after that, he was pretty much in survival mode. They threw in the towel, which I don't blame him because like we took this fight on with a week notice, 3 week
Right.
notice.
I said I didn't know
You
that part.
know, yeah, he took it. Yeah, because
Uh,
Majamov, he had got bronchitis or something. You know, some type of sinus infection. So he pulled out because he still got the fight on the beater beef and Bivol card with Ortiz. And I actually favor Majamov to beat Ortiz in that fight. Um, but now Bohachuk, that was a final eliminator. So either he's going to get the winner of Ortiz Majamov, or he can just hold out until um he can just hold out with his spot. He has options at this point, but he's the number one contender for the WBC championship at 154. So he can get Ortiz. We could see a rematch with him and Ortiz next summer, next fall, if he chooses to go that route, because from what I heard, Spence versus Fundora is hitting a snag because the WBO will not sanction the fight. They
Mm,
won't recognize. They say, so if y'all make this fight happen, then
mm,
it won't be for our belt. And if Fundora loses, we're going to strip him.
hmm.
So I think that's why we haven't really heard a lot on Fundora, who's the unified champion. Where there's like literally everyone's around Fundora is fighting but him.
Wow.
Since he beat Zoo, Zoo's fought again. Bohachuk just fought again, and he fought on that card. Majamov fought Crawford. Now he's about to fight again. Bakram just beat Zoo. Um, so yeah, like all the other fighters in the top five are pretty much moving around Fundora because he's stuck, with PBC, and they're trying to have him fight Spence. They're going to sacrifice him to Spence pretty much. But now they're like, okay, well, will the WBC sanction the fight if the WBO aren't going to sanction it? So I think they're trying to find a way to salvage that. Otherwise, I mean, Fundura's sitting on belts, and once the year comes up in the summertime, he's going to have to defend or vacate.
Right.
And if he vacates, no, there's already a WBC interim champion, and there's no interim at WBO, but and they're not going to do one. They're just going to strip him if he doesn't fight within a year, because the
Mm,
new president of
okay.
the WBO is not playing around.
Right. Right. So, um, so we talked about the Ishmael Davis, the Dempsey McKean, and Moses Toma. Um,
And yeah, Usyk and Fury.
Usyk and Fury, man, the main event.
Fury did a great job. Fury fought the best fight he could possibly fight.
That's
It's
what I feel. I feel
it,
that couldn't do much more than that, man. He put it all on the line.
Usyk has the ability to take away that distance.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
Yep.
safety net you think you have, he just bypasses all of that and just gets to his spot. That's what I saw mainly in the rematch. It wasn't like Fury wasn't doing good. His legs were there.
Mm-hmm.
He was boxing very well. His jab was there. He was matching Fury as far as boxing wise. It's just that Fury could turn it up another gear real quick to close that distance, and 2-3 punches on the inside. Now Fury's holding. Now Fury got to reset, and that's all it was in my opinion. Usyk just um was able to just immediately close that distance and eliminate that reach disadvantage. Usyk fights these big guys like he has like there is no height or reach advantage at all. He fights them like they're literally his size. And that's the crazy part. Like he eliminates their height. I mean, he takes away their height. He takes away their reach. You know, he's really good at taking away your tools. Like he took away Fury's jab by like round 8. Like by round 8, the jab was ineffective. With Joshua, he took away Joshua's ability to throw power punches.
Right.
Same with Dubois. He took that away. It it's just
It's a gift. Definitely
I
a
don't
gift.
know who he's just fighting for the love of the game at this point. There's nothing more for him to accomplish. I mean, fight Dubois again, become double undisputed. That's how I see that one going. Because I don't know why Dubois is trying to run in there and fight Usyk again. I think he's hoping for it to go. He catch him trilogy. But I'm like I'm like Dubois, you can just chill for a little bit with your belt and just become a multimillionaire. You know, there's plenty of names for you to fight to get recognition. You know, Kabayel and Zhang and White.
Mm-hmm.
You could give. Joshua's going to get his rematch sometime next year. You got
Yep.
Parker. You got Wardley. There's more than enough talent. Ajagba. There's more than enough
Yep.
talent out there. Bacoli. There's more than enough
Bacoli.
talent
Yep.
out there for you to just, fight. Hey, you don't want to fight Usyk? I'm more beatable. Come fight me. Like you're the beatable heavyweight champion with drawing power. You're fine. You don't need to fight Usyk again until you get a little bit more experience with boxers and movers, and there aren't that many. So in my opinion, if I was a Dubois, if I was his manager or coach, I would line up these 3 fights, then Usyk. We're gonna fight Parker next. After Parker, we're gonna fight Caballo next.
I like that.
Because of movement.
Because the movement, exactly.
Movement. With
Nobody
Park,
is nobody is Usyk, but you want to get somebody who has some of that.
yeah, so with Parker, we need the volume. No one's throwing combo punches like Parker and Usyk in the heavyweight division. They're
Facts.
throwing punches in bunches, so that's what we need you to get used to. Finding the holes within the combos, finding the openings between, after, and before they punch. That
Hmm.
timing with Caballo, movement, getting you used to the movement, making you relax. Because sometimes Dubois be fighting, he be fighting all stiff. He be looking stiff when he fights Dubois sometimes. You got to
Yeah.
be loose. You got to be on your toes. Fighting Caballo will help you do that. You ain't got to be Ali for 12 rounds, but you got to be mobile to cut that ring off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also you might not knock out Usyk. So you and Caballo, you might not knock him out. He's gonna be
Right.
hard to knock out. So you got to get you used to fighting to win, not fighting to kill.
And getting those rounds in too.
Yes, you need the
Yeah.
rounds. You need the cardio.
Yeah. Yeah.
The third fight, I would line up after that if it's available. Um, would be I would try to set up a Joshua fight a third time for a second time if that fight had an. I would try to set up Joshua again to more so establish the claim as the best heavyweight that it is not Usyk.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, like I just beat Parker, the last heavyweight champion before all this happened. I beat Caballo. You know what I'm saying? Nobody was trying to fight him. And I just beat Joshua for a second time. So I am the consensus number 2 heavyweight in the world. There's nothing else for me to do but fight you. You know,
Exactly. And then
you know,
he'll have the rights to say, not only did I beat AJ, although you beat him, but I actually knocked AJ out
twice.
twice. Yeah.
So that's what I would do if I was Dubois. I would set up those 3 fights, and by that point, if Usyk's even still around, make the fight at that point, because you have matured, you've gotten better. Becoming a champion makes you 25% better anyway. So now we just got to make sure you mature, get the rounds in, the styles. You got to be able to adapt to different styles, because Usyk gonna give you everything. He gonna come at you. He gonna move around. He gonna make you find him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he gonna do everything. He gonna give you. He can give you any kind of look he wants to, and that that's what makes Usyk dangerous, is because he can just switch up his styles, mix up styles. You know, for Usyk, it's almost like there's nothing you can do that I can't figure out.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I that's what I would do if I was Dubois' handlers. Dubois gonna, I mean, all the glory for him. Go for greatness.
Oh yeah. So speaking of that, because that's something I really want to see next year. So if Parker versus Dubois comes to fruition, what would your prediction? How do you see it playing out?
Un,
I think Parker
un,
stops
un,
him.
Under 9 Dubois. If the fight go under 9 Dubois, over 9 Parker.
Yeah, that's
If
definitely a
like
prediction.
Zhang caught Parker pre-6, like he caught Parker like before round 6 or right at round 6 twice, but after that he gassed. Dubois is similar to Zhang in that thudding, slow, methodical power. Dubois and Zhang ain't throwing punches. I mean, Dubois and Zhang throw punches like they pay for them. They don't throw a lot of them.
Right.
But Dubois got better gas tank than Zhang because Zhang's 42.
Yeah.
He'll be
Yeah. He's
43
43.
next year. I'm like, that's the fact that he's
Yeah.
a
He's like.
top 10. The fact he's a top 5 heavyweight at 43 years old is a testament to his technical ability because he is a 2-time Olympian.
Hmm.
His discipline more than anything,
Yeah.
his technical ability and his discipline needs to be modeled after because he got it. And
Facts.
patience. You got to be patient to be 42 going on 43. Now getting your shot.
Right.
But I think Dubois has the stamina to put the pressure on Parker to try and get him out, but he doesn't have it to do it for a long time.
Hmm.
So anything over 9 rounds, I see Parker activity, gas tank, movement, experience, getting the best of Dubois. But I can't see Dubois I can't see Dubois in a sense catching Parker pulling out with those left hooks that Joyce was catching him with.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
this
need
is
to
a
go
good
watch that
test.
back. I need to go
This is
watch
a Oh
Parker's
yeah,
fight back.
Joyce.
Yeah.
This is a
Parker
good
Joyce.
showing. This is a good showing for both fighters. Is Parker's chin okay?
Hmm.
Can his chin withstand Dubois for 12?
Right.
And is Dubois smart enough? You know, is Dubois smart enough?
Yeah, man. Them were some interesting and some great questions to consider for sure, man. Um, because I like Parker, man. I think he's definitely um like that overlooked guy. That's why I like him. I like them guys that got the type of skills in their toolbox. They're well rounded and they get overlooked. I like them. People sleep on them, and then they come in and catch you by surprise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's gonna be funny. I know Parker has always been a consummate athlete and professional, but Dubois reminds me, this name of Tim Witherspoon. Like Tim had fights that was like, damn, okay, Tim great, and then Tim had some fights like, oh, dang, Tim, but you knew Tim was coming. But Tim fought everybody, James, James Smith, Pinklin Thomas, Frank Bruno, and Jorge Gonzalez, and um, he fought Larry Holmes. So I consider like Joseph Parker like a modern day, almost like a modern day Tim Witherspoon, or like a modern day like Ray Mercer. You know,
Yeah,
win, lose, or draw, you're gonna get a good showing out of Parker. He gonna give his all.
facts. Yeah, yeah. He'll dig deep down for sure. He'll dig deep down, even when he's hurt or
And his
dropped.
resume is I think he has arguably the best resume in boxing that's not Joshua and Usyk because he's fought Ruiz,
Yep.
he's fought Joshua, he's fought White, he's fought Chisora, he's fought
Yep.
Joyce,
Yep.
Zhang. Um, like Parker's pretty much fought. He's fought a lot of guys, and
Yeah.
um, him beating Park if
He
he
fought
beats Duke,
Wilder.
he fought
He got the
Wilder.
Wilder. Yep.
That was a crazy upset.
Hmm.
I thought Wilder was gonna beat Parker to be honest. But that kind of showed what sucks with Wilder now getting all of these good fights on paper it's like, well, is Parker, I mean, is Wilder really done for? Like, is he really, is it because he's older and Father Time is undefeated? He's losing, or was this always inevitable if he were to unify with Parker when they were both champions? Or if he were to fight, you know, Zhang, like these other guys across the pond. Because that was the thing. Wilder never fought those other guys
Nope.
across the pond while they were all beating up on each other. He didn't fight Joshua. He didn't fight Parker. He didn't fight White. Chisora, when they were all literally fighting each other one after one, one after one. What sucks is like, he couldn't even. Like, I don't even know why he couldn't even get the unification with Charles Martin when they were both champions at the same
Both
time.
both PBC fighters.
I never understood that, like how they never forced that to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like they could have literally, okay, let's make this happen. They could have paid off WBC. You know what I'm saying? Told IBF,
Yeah.
we're gonna pay off that mandatory. We're gonna make this unification happen. And now you've put now you've put then AJ wouldn't have become champion until he fought Vladimir.
And I think to piggyback on what you're saying, like when we're talking about Wilder, I think I'm not comparing him to Canelo. He's not even
No.
close. But what I'm trying to say is Canelo fought and was at the climax some years ago. So now he's at a point now where he's done beat a lot of these big names, cleaned up and cleared out the division. Apart from
Canelo's on a
David Benavidez, he
Canelo's on a
fought everybody.
retirement tour. He on a
Exactly.
retirement tour right now,
Exactly.
whether people want to believe it or not.
Exactly.
He hasn't been the same since Bivol. Bivol was like a wake up call for him in a sense. You know
Right,
what I'm
right,
saying?
right, right.
Which is kind of crazy to believe. But I always told when they announced that fight, I wasn't worried that Bivol wouldn't win. I was worried they was gonna rob him.
Hmm.
That's what I was worried about. I wasn't worried that Canelo was gonna win. I wasn't even worried that Bivol. I said Bivol was skilled enough, fast enough, strong enough, big enough to beat Canelo in every facet. He's not gonna even let Canelo have an ability to throw those left hooks to the body and stuff like that. And that's what happened. Canelo won 2 rounds. It was a 10-2 fight, like the Floyd fight. And them scorecards was 115 and 113. I'm like, what in the world? What were y'all watching? 115, 113 across the board. Did y'all score in the first 6 rounds?
Hmm.
So Canelo, ever since the Bivol fight, he's kind of been like, you know what? I'm just trying to fight dudes that they ain't move. I'm just trying to fight dudes that I know I can beat.
Yeah. And see, and back to Wilder, what I was saying about the Canelo is now Canelo is retirement tour, so he's just kind of smoothing it out as he's at his older age and he's about to exit. Now
Hmm.
Wilder doesn't have much time left, so he let too much time elapse. He should have started around opponent number 33, 34. He should have been fighting people like Joseph Parker, like Charles Martin, like Chisora, all them guys he didn't fight. Now you fight Parker towards the end of your career and you get mopped. Then you fight
Yeah.
Zhang. It's like he's waiting towards the end of his career to fight the bigger names.
Well, I think that was mainly due to the people around him and not him putting his foot down and saying we're gonna make this happen. Here's the messed up thing. When here's what stopped Wilder Joshua from happening. It wasn't even money, okay? It was venue. Venue is why the fight never happened. This was before AJ came to New York. When the negotiations, I found this out recently from a dude that worked at Golden Boy as a photographer and a post and a press release guy.
Oh, okay.
He said it wasn't money, it was venue. Wilder didn't want to go to England and be on enemy territory, and possibly get a bad looking card if it goes to a decision.
Mm. Okay.
AJ hadn't fought in America yet, so Eddie wasn't in a rush to send Wilder to send AJ to America. I think Hearn should have had AJ in America sooner, like a lot sooner. Like after like his first or second title defense should have been in America, in my opinion, because whether we like it or not, United States of American fans are the least traveled fans in combat sports. We don't travel to support our fighters. We don't. Mexicans, the Australians, the Germans, you know what I'm saying? The Ukrainians, the UK, Japan, they travel and show. The Polish, they travel and show up. You see the crowd, you see they section. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's like 50, 60 people, but the UK, they show up. The UK gonna show up. If it's in the East Coast, they gonna show up. That's 4 or 5 hour flight. You know what I'm saying? They could have had AJ in New Jersey, Boston, New York, just all up on New England and the East Coast. You know what I'm saying? Quick flights for the people in the UK and build up his press like that. You know, but I digest. So they didn't want to go to each other's place. So Wilder knew that he was going to have to give up money in order for AJ to come to America. So Wilder trying to fix negotiations on his side. So it was like, let me fight Fury. If I fight Fury and beat Fury, then the terms will be on my side because I'll be the number one heavyweight. I'll be the lineal heavyweight, you know, and I've beaten Fury who beat Vlad and, da 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 da. Well, it went to a draw.
Yeah.
So they had to do a rematch, which put everything on hold. Then AJ came to America. So like if they weren't if one of the sides was just like forget it, we'll just come to UK, forget it, we'll just come to America. Wilder wouldn't have got devastated by Fury in that rematch, and Joshua wouldn't have been beat up by Fat Boy on Madison Square Garden. You know, it was ego of the fighters and their sides to why we'll possibly never get the biggest heavyweight fight of my generation.
Right.
Because it was never supposed to be Usyk versus Fury or AJ. As a matter of fact, we might not get two of the biggest heavyweight fights of my generation, AJ versus Wilder and AJ versus Fury. I'm like, how do we never get AJ and Fury? The
Right.
biggest British heavyweight fight ever. How did y'all not make that happen?
Yeah, that's gonna be huge, like Lennox Lewis versus Bruno back in the
Like
day.
what? And they weren't even. And that was just for a piece of the belt.
Hmm.
That was just for one belt. You know what I'm saying? And or when David Hay fought Chisora. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was a big fight
Yeah.
in the UK for them because Chisora was the only one to go the distance with Vlad. I mean, with Vitaly, not Vlad, Vitaly.
Right. Right. Right.
But I don't know. The heavyweight division is nice. It's probably this is the nicest. This is the best the heavyweight division has been since probably the early 2000s. I don't know. I still like the European invasion in the early 2000s. When all the European guys came over and was finally given a chance to fight for championships. A lot of people don't know is that the Russia was locked up. You know, they couldn't leave to fight. You know, from Russia. So when communism fell, they were finally able to come over and show their worth in a sense. So I think this is the healthiest the heavyweight division has been because when you have a guy like Usyk who's just so unbeatable, all the other heavyweights let's just fight each other.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, Usyk is they call him the cat for a reason, you know?
Nice.
Yeah, definitely nice. And then just with 2025 around the corner, The fact we get to see Shakur versus Floyd
Schofield.
Schoolfield and Tank versus Lamont Rose Jr. That's gonna be cool for 2025 as a kickoff.
I I heard Haney's trying. I heard Haney's holding out, and his next fight's gonna be Ryan.
So he's gonna
Some
rematch.
sometime in the summer. I,
Oh wow.
I, I've I've heard that he's working with Freddie Roach on his fundamentals.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So ain't no Freddie like knockouts. Freddie like aggression.
Right.
Freddie no nonsense. So I think that's the type of coach Devin needs. In
Hmm.
my opinion, Devin needs an old school type of coach who's not gonna who he needs a Manny. Rest in peace.
Right.
I think Manny would have been perfect for Devin. I think someone like what's his name? I think Andre Rozier would be good for Devin.
What about Rodney
Um
Shields?
Rodney Shields would be good for Devin. Definitely. Look at what he was able to do. I think Derek James would be good for Devin because look what Derek has been able to do for like he turned Charlo into a knockout artist. He helped eat Spence. Look at what he helped do for Ryan Garcia. Well, no, yeah, he's with Ryan right now. But like Derek James is a great coach. Or
Right.
Abel Sanchez.
Hmm.
Abel Sanchez would be great for Devin. I don't think he's still coaching, but Teddy Atlas would have been good for Devin. You know,
Oh,
um,
Teddy. Hmm.
those guys who can just get a little bit, who want a little bit more, can get a little bit more out of you. I don't. I got to do some more research. Like, I know about Bonzi, but I don't know who else Bonzi coaches. You know, uh, maybe he needs to work more with Yodel. Yodel's been in Devin's corner for a while, on and off. Um, I know Ward doesn't want to coach, um, and I never considered Ward's coach that good of a coach either. Um, Virgil Hunter, I never considered Virgil like a really, really great coach because the only person he really coached was Andre, and Andre's special.
What do you think about Bomac?
Yeah, Bomac's done well. Bomac did good with Jamel. Um,
With
Bomac did
Bud?
good with Bud, and obviously Bud. Bomac helped out. What's his Rob Brandt. He coached Rob Brandt for a little bit. Um, there, I don't know. Boxing is weird now. There aren't any like I know maybe we're in a transition, but it seems like there aren't any like legendary coaches anymore in a sense. Like is like Virgil's known for Andre. Bomac's mainly known for Terrence. Yeah, he coached Amir Khan. Yeah, he coached but he didn't really. He's not known for coaching another world champion from nothing. You
Right.
know, not like Joe Goosen. And he's still coaching to a degree, or what's his name? Lamont Peterson's uh coach slash Barry Hunter. Barry Hunter's a good coach. Francis DeJune and Lamont and some other cats he's coached as well. Like it seems like there used to be like back in the day, Manny, George Benton, Teddy. Um, there aren't a lot of universal coaches anymore. Guys who can just coach multiple different styles,
Right.
multiple different types of personalities, and they equal to something. It doesn't seem as though there are a lot of coaches. There are a lot of specialist coaches. You got Eddie Reynoso. He's a really good coach for the Mexican style of boxing. A really good
Right.
coach for them.
Andy Lee
Uh,
over. I think he in UK though. Andy
Andy
Lee.
Lee's a good coach. Andy Lee, Shane McGuigan, Ricky, um,
Rob McCracken.
Rob McCracken. Yeah, those are really, really good coaches. They don't get enough credit. Those are really, really good coaches. Oh, what's his name?
Mark Breland was nice too. I don't know why Wilder would have got rid of him.
because
That was a bad mistake.
yeah, that was because Breland was pretty much like Breland was the welterweight version of Wilder, but with technique and an actual Olympic record, like Olympic background.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't have like he didn't have a great stamina, but he had amazing everything else.
The
Length,
fundamentals and the basics.
fundamentals, jab, power, footwork, technique. His defense was always kind of questionable. With Breland, his heart at times was kind of questionable. At times, but other than that, Breland was almost a perfect fighter and should have been and Breland even said Wilder didn't want to learn how to box at a higher level, stutter steps, L steps. You know, um,
Road work.
not just the road work, but just like the finer things in boxing. Like the stutter step instead of a feint. You would stutter step with your feet instead of going
Mm.
an all out feint. The L step to maneuver out of. You know, the underhook and over to get out of the
Yeah.
clinch.
Be less predictable.
Yeah, like he didn't want to, maybe like a hook off a feint. You know what I'm saying? Like use a left hook off a jab feint. You know what I'm saying? To get their head bite this way, and then they literally weave into the left hook. Traps, setups.
Traps. Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't want to learn these things, and that's what hurt him. You know what I'm saying? Well, it was a double-edged sword. It made him ignorant, which also made it to where he just went in blindly, so he didn't really know what he was going up against. He just I'm just gonna do my thing. It led it to where he didn't have to think. He just went at it, which is good because you don't want to fight thinking too much. But when he got in the ring with guys like Ortiz and Fury, who made him think, that's where the problems came in.
Hmm.
And I was such a big Ortiz fan. I wanted Ortiz to beat Wilder so bad in those two fights. Like I'm a big Ortiz fan, and it just sucks that with the Cuba situation that we don't. That man was probably 35 when he made his debut. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm like a lot of I'm like all those guys gotta be old. Rigondeaux is a top 5 fighter again in a for the WBC. He might be fighting Junto Nakatani
Mm.
sometime next year. And I'm like, the fact that Rigo is still active at the top level is a testament to that Cuban system. Cause Landy Lara, middleweight champion, and he's 41.
Mm. Wow. What weight
You know,
division is Nakatani?
the one below Inoue. Inoue is super bantam. So Inoue's at 122. So Nakatani is at 118.
Okay, I was asking that because I was wondering if those two would be able to get it on, but
They're
they're in
trying to
slightly
get
different.
most likely they're going to have Nakatani. Nakatani's big for the divisions. Like Nakatani is like 5'6", 5'7", fighting at 115, and he started off at 112. So he's a flyweight champion, a super flyweight champion, and now he's a junior. No, now he's a bantamweight champion. So he actually has the height and length to fight at up to 130. To be honest, he can fight at 130, no problem. So Nakatani, I think he's 26-0, already a 3 division champion. So he's going to be fighting in a way. They're going to try and make that fight sometime next year, from what I just said. But it might not be for undisputed though. It might not be for undisputed because
Oh, okay.
MJ Akhmadaliev, he is the interim WBA champion at 122 pounds. So he's the number one mandatory for Inoue. So they're in a situation where either Inoue has to fight him next year, period, or he's gonna have to vacate the belt. Um, Akhmadaliev wouldn't have been in this position. Like he lost to Marlon Topolis. So like literally, if he'd have beat Topolis, that would have been him fighting Inoue for the undisputed championship.
Yeah, I heard of Ahmad Aliyev.
He's nice. I think he's a silver medalist in the Olympics. Big, strong, athletic, fast, power in both hands, speed in both hands. He got a chin. He's smart. He could just be outsmarted. Like Inoue would have to box him for 12 rounds to beat him, because Akhmadaliev he likes to fight, but he's
Okay.
technically skilled. He's an Olympian, but he
Like
likes to
Viterbius?
yeah, or no, more fluid. Like
Okay.
he's loose. Like he got bounce to his step.
Oh, okay.
He no Beater Beef's kind of stiff at times.
Yeah,
Ain't
like a
nothing
yeah.
stiff about ain't nothing stiff about Akhmadaliev. He's a
Mm,
fluid double puncher southpaw.
okay.
Like like I say, he can be outsmarted, but only for so long, because Topless likes to fight, but Topless boxed for the first 6-7 rounds against Akhmadaliev, and Akhmadaliev was hesitant. Like he was expecting a fight. So he was like, "Oh, dang, he's boxing me," and he didn't figure it out till like round 8. And by that
Mm,
time, the points were already in the bag. So Inoue would have to box him for 12 straight to get the
okay.
better of him, because Akhmadaliev is not an intimidated fighter. And he's been calling out Inoue all 2024. If you go on his Instagram, everything he says, monster, monster. I'm not scared of you. Where are you? Fight me or vacate. Fight me or vacate. So he's very. I want the fight to happen. Some people are saying Nakatani has a right to duck him. Because he's already lost to some. People like to use a triangle theory. Well, he's already lost someone that Inoue beat. So we just got to see how the career of Inoue turns out, in a sense.
All right. So I want to talk about one or two more things before we wrap it up. Um, so we talked about Tank and Lamont Roach, Shakur versus Schofield. Now, say
Yeah,
for instance, you take Schofield and Lamont Roach Jr. Hypothetically, if those two were fighting,
that's
how
a
would you
better
see that?
fight. That's a better fight than what they're already in. To be
Yeah,
honest,
yeah. How do you think that would
that's
play
a
out?
more winnable. That's a more winnable fight for both of them. To be honest, like. Because they're both right there to be hit. Like it would make Lamont to box more, but Lamont likes to fight. So it would be an interesting fight, because Lamont will box for so long until he just start fighting back. Um, so I think that's a more entertaining fight and a more 50-50 fight than what these two are already in. That's great matchmaking, to be honest. I like that fight at 135 for both of them, because they both
Hmm.
don't got. I mean, they both don't have fight-ending power, and Lamont's not. He didn't have that at 130, and he's not gonna have it at 135.
Right.
So yeah, I'd actually want to see that fight. Afterwards, they might not fight each other right away, but I would actually want to see that fight right afterwards.
Right. At some point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting
Yeah.
matchup.
All right. Well, the last thing I want to talk about was the opponent that Ja Pataya is going to fight. What do you know about him, or if you do?
The Tasmanian, the first ever uh all New Zealand Tasmanian championship fight in the history of boxing. Never has two New Zealand Tasmanians have fought before. We've never even had we've never even had an Aborigines champion. The closest we had was like Benny Briscoe, I think, was back in the day. He was a contender. But yeah, this is a good matchup. Um, from what I've seen from the guy, he's strong. He can punch. He's pretty smart. That'll get him a lot farther. The only thing is, what separates Jai from almost any other cruiserweight is his speed and footwork.
Right.
That's what separates Jai from all the others. It's his speed and footwork. Um, so if his opponent can time him, it'll be a very entertaining fight if he can get the timing of Jai Apatai. But Jai's really good at what he does, and I just think Jai will just keep the rhythm so offset, to where his opponent won't even really be able to find him consistently and or connect flush enough to keep Jai off of him.
Um, and how do you pronounce his opponent's name?
I don't
Okay.
remember.
Is it the start with an H, I believe, or is that somebody else? 'Cause I seen the a quick thing on my feed, but I didn't save it. Oh, I should have saved it, but I seen John Pataya facing off
David Nika.
David Nika.
Yeah.
Okay, David Nika. Okay,
Yeah, he's 29. He's in his physical prime. He's big. He's 6'6". He's
okay.
undefeated.
The Orthodox
Um, yeah, actually
switch
switches from
hitter.
time. He switches from time to time.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
I don't. He got this. The biggest. He doesn't have any name opponents outside of Tommy Carpensy and New Zealand and pretty much an Australian journeyman named Robert Berg. But Tommy Carpensy is pretty much a journeyman in the heavy for the American standard. He's fought Kyra Marat, Nathan Cleverly, Andrew Fonfara, Chad Dawson, Adonis Stevenson, Gvozdyk, Gilberto Ramirez, Unieski Gonzalez. He's lost pretty much to all of those fighters. But Tommy Carpensy is his.
You all right, everybody? So if those are still in the chat room, if you're still active in the chat room, like I said, thanks everybody. Uh, Cuzzo, Scoob, I appreciate you. Cuzzo down south, always representing, and make sure y'all hit that like button, please.
Like and subscribe for Ring Talk, for Bring Walk Boxing Talk.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Thanks
I
very
don't.
much.
This should be a good fight. I mean, for as long as it lasts. I don't think it goes to decision. Both guys are known for knockouts. So Nika is in a way untested, but so was Jai until he fought Morris. You know, it wasn't like Jai had fought a former champion before he fought Morris. Morris was was the step up for him in a sense, and he showed up. This could
Right.
very well be the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
here's a
man.
rumor mill. One more thing for the rumor mill. Apparently, Crawford Canelo
Oh
is
yeah, I forgot about
going
that.
in the right direction.
Ooh, wow.
He's going in
Yeah,
the right
yeah, yeah,
direction.
yeah.
I don't know. There isn't any more. I haven't heard a lot, but I have heard that it's moving in the right direction as far as, I mean, they got until May. They got 6 more months. They
Okay.
got 5.5 more months. So to be honest, we might not hear anything concrete until February or March, because they're gonna want to do an extensive press tour and whatnot. But from what I hear, they're going in the right direction as far as concessions, venue, revenue, and
Man.
ring size. All this stuff matters. So it. It's taking a while because you got two guys you got one fighter who gets whatever he wants in Canelo, and one
Right.
fighter who deserves whatever he wants
He
in
facts.
Crawford.
Right. Well
But
said.
sadly, as Andre Ward says, boxing is not about what you deserve, it's about what you can negotiate.
Yeah. Hmm. That's how boxing works for sure, man. And with that in mind, man, it's like if he fights Bud Crawford in 2025, I won't even bring up David Benavidez anymore. I'll be like, you know what? Even though I want to see that, the fact he
That's
fought
probably
Bud, I could be like, okay,
well, David's moving up, and David's fighting David Morrell. David Benavidez fighting David Morrell in March, I think February or March.
can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yeah.
And what are you
David
saying
Morrell
about
and
David?
David Benavidez and David Morrell fighting sometime in February or March.
Yeah,
A quasi unification because it's interim WBC and regular WBA. So the winner will be the universal number one contender for Beater Beef Bivol rematch. So yeah, David Benavidez David's trying to get Canelo to move up to fight him now. David feel as though I beat Morrell, and then if I can beat, Bivol or Beater Beef, then I can force Canelo to fight me at 175 for undisputed. But David at 175 is
hmm,
slower.
right. Yeah,
David at
yeah,
175 is slower. David Benavidez at 175 is slower. And David Morrell at 175 has less power. So this is what makes the fight a little bit more interesting
yeah.
because
More
now,
intriguing.
yeah,
Yeah.
because David Benavidez, his hand speed is slower. So he'll be easier to time, and he'll be
Hmm.
easier to make him think more and make him hesitant. David doesn't have that fight ending power no more. David Morrell doesn't. So now he has to use his Cuban Olympic background, box, use his feet, head movement. He can't just fight David because he can't. Morrell can't fight Benavidez because he's still Benavidez. He's still a tank of a man. But
Right.
he's beatable because of his hand speed. But Morrell, you're beatable too because you don't got that thump no more that you had at 168. You
Right.
know, now you
Right.
got to box more, punching combinations,
Hmm.
move, and stuff like that, which you can. Let's just hope you haven't been spoiled by being a more of a power puncher when you're at 168. Because it's a
Right.
thing. I said that Morel nor Benavidez has transcending punching power. They both have power because they're cutting weight. They're not Beater Beef. Beater Beef would have power at cruiserweight.
Right.
You know, Tank, he got power at 130, 135. He gonna have power at 140.
Right. Right.
Tank
Right.
still have power at 147. You know,
Hmm.
Pacquiao had power all the way up to 140, all the way up until 147.
Right.
But David and Tio, I don't really think Teofimo got power like that at 140. His power has kind of gone away since he's
Right.
moved up to 140. But he got technique. But like I digest, like they both have to have a second stitch or layer to their abilities. Now that what made them great, David. For me, what made David Benavidez great was his hand speed. It's his
Right.
hand
Right.
speed and his
Right.
chin. and his stamina. You know, well,
Yeah.
now you got chin and stamina. You ain't got hand speed no more.
Right. Yeah.
And with Morrell, punch placement, punching power, like killer instinct, and his IQ. Well, now you don't have punching power, but you can still have good punch placement. You can still have good killer instinct. You know,
Right.
it just makes it a more dynamic fight to look at now. Now it's just a more 50-50 fight to be had. Um,
Yeah, because they got to make adjustments
I would prefer.
accordingly.
I want Bivol to beat Beaterbee so we can have a trilogy. And also, I think Bivol's career would take a hit if he loses again. People won't. He won't get the appreciation and respect that he deserves for being a champion for 6 years. Because Bivol's been champion since HBO has been around. You know, and I think if Bivol loses to Beaterbee again, he won't be considered a great champion, which he is.
Right. Yeah.
And I say people just didn't want to fight Bivol. That's all that was. No, a lot of guys just didn't want to fight him because you're not gonna look good.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not
It's
gonna
hard
look
to.
good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. He's so
but
well rounded and so many.
yeah, and he knows how to take your tools away. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
with Beater Beef, Beater Beef's as smart as he is, but
Hmm.
he got power too.
Right.
You know, so to be honest, to beat somebody like Beater Beef, it would take like a Bernard Hopkins or like a Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Somebody
it
on
would
that
like
top tier caliber. Somebody
like
just. Yeah.
because Roy got the punch output
Yeah.
and the punch placement.
Roy. Yeah. Roy Jones. Yeah.
Bernard got the output and he got the stamina. You know, Bernard would just throw like 30, 40 punches around pretty much. Like Bernard would just like literally out punch Beater Beef as far as volume is concerned. While Roy would be punching in around the guard of Beater Beef. Roy would be punching with Beater Beef.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so there just aren't guys like that at that level right now. There just aren't any guys like that. There aren't any dynamic fighters like that at 168 or 175 with just those levels of ability that can do that. So, um, we'll see what happens. You know, Charlo's supposed to be fighting on the. I think Charlo's supposed to be fighting on the tank card.
Oh, that's what's up. Good to see him back.
Big Charlo,
Oh,
not
okay.
little one, Big Charlo.
Yeah,
He's supposed to be
the one that
fighting
should have
on
been fighting Canelo. Not the.
Jesus, man.
Yeah,
That I
he
don't
should have been the
even
one.
Jermel, like I don't know what he did with his career, but like I mean, you went from being arguably the best junior middleweight, and then you move to middleweight, and you don't fight nobody. I'm like, and then you don't fight Boo Boo because you're trying to get Canelo or Triple G, and then your little brother gets Canelo.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of crazy, man.
The fact that we
Um.
haven't seen what
Oh, go ahead.
like the fact we haven't seen from Little Charlo, we haven't seen Billy Joe Saunders since the Canelo fight. Like
Hmm.
hell, only one that's been active since the Canelo fight is Munguia
Yeah.
and Caleb.
Yeah. Yeah. And we seen what happened to McGee. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard that if he got past this fight, he was gonna get a William Scroll fight sometime next year. They're setting up him versus William Scroll for the IBF Super Middleweight Championship, but that's all out the window now. So
Yeah.
that
Okay.
might be Saraje getting that.
Right. The guy to beat him. Yeah.
Unless they set up a rematch. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He definitely. I can see him definitely. I mean, it would only be right for him to want to try to avenge and right his wrong. I would
Yeah,
think that he'd want to get his get back.
yeah. I mean, I I thought it was a long time coming in a sense. Like they moved Jaime in a way, um, in a path of least resistance to Canelo. Because I'm like, how in the heck did he get a Canelo fight?
Hmm.
How did Berlanga get a Canelo fight? But I digest. So I mean, that's kind of what happens. You lose your O, and now I'll fight anybody now.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, just before I let you go, real quick, I just want to rewind back real quick. So, because there's so much going on FB, IG, and all the social media. Was Tyson Fury robbed of a victory?
No,
Okay, there you have it, folks.
no, no. It it was a 8-4 fight, 7-5 if you want to be jealous, if you want to be generous on a swing round, but it was a 8-4, 7-5 fight. You
Yeah,
know, it
yeah.
it wasn't. I mean, look, the last fight had an argument to being like a 9-3 fight, 8-4 fight. You had an argument to where those scorecards could have been 116, 112 for the first fight. You know, um, I'm sorry, not 116, 112, 117, 111. Some of those scores, I would have been mad at 117, 111 or 118, 110 in that first fight because Usyk did that much stuff. But now 116, 112 or 115, 113. If you that's 115, 113 is generous, but 116, 112 is fair. 8-4 is fair. If you rewatch it without the audio,
Hmm.
you might, I say, give Fury that swing round, but Fury did not get robbed. This was not a, like I said, I may have gotten laughed at on Facebook by some guys, but in my opinion, Usyk is about as perfect a fighter as we've gotten in boxing. That's not Terrence Crawford. No funny looking scorecards. No I gotta say minimum controversy. You know, fought the best consistently, one after another, and uh, I don't know, man. Like I don't know what more we could want in a fighter. Like Tank not fighting everybody, but people love him. Canelo picking and choosing, they love him. Ryan Garcia pop hot, they love him. Like boxing is a weird place. It's
Right,
just a
right.
very weird place.
Hmm.
Like Crawford should be, like I said, if Crawford fought in the 80s and 90s, if he fought pre Mayweather era, Crawford would be a superstar.
Right, right. Yeah,
Same with
and
Usyk.
mhm. Yeah, and I got to throw one more at you because we talked about Fury. So if 2025, if AJ versus Fury does happen, your prediction, AJ versus Fury.
I would have to see AJ in something first before that to make sure AJ isn't damaged goods because he just looked all kinds of bad in Dubois. That
Hmm.
wasn't AJ that we know him,
Right,
but
right,
he just looked all kinds of bad. It stock down.
right.
So as of now, I would have a Fury winning comfortably 8 rounds to 4, 9 rounds to 3. Um, because I feel like Fury would hurt AJ enough to keep AJ honest with some of those outside shots.
Okay, okay. I had to
Um,
bring that up, man, because I'm an AJ fan. So to others, it will come off as being biased because they're gonna say, "Well, you're an AJ fan. Of course, you're gonna say
well,
that."
no, I
So
like AJ too.
I wanted your opinion.
Well, no, I like AJ too. I mean, I think AJ is the best heavyweight since the best heavyweight since Lennox Lewis. You know what I'm saying? As far as that, like in regard, I think AJ is great for the heavyweight division of boxing. I was more of a fan of his than Wilder because at least AJ knew how to box.
Right.
You know, he wasn't a character, but I would prefer someone who was. I liked AJ because when guys got into his face, he would remind them that, you know, we ain't got to do this, you know, to get paid. You know, we go behind this, we go behind over here and do this. You know, like AJ showed that like I'm not no celebrity, I'm a fighter. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like I ain't finna play with you. You know, I smack you in the face right now. Like, um, you know, you saw it with him and Dubois, telling Dubois don't be disrespectful, you know, and stuff
Right.
like that. You know, Dubois doesn't take kindly. I mean, AJ doesn't take kindly to trash talk. You know, I always liked AJ for that and backing it up every time. I kind of want to see AJ versus White. Um,
Rematch.
yeah, before he jumps in there again. Um, I'd like to see AJ and Wilder again. I mean, one time. Um, I'd like to see AJ versus White, Wilder, and Fury before he calls it a day. I really
Yeah.
don't. If he wins another belt, that'd be great. 3-time champion. You know, he'd be an elite company, becoming a 3-time heavyweight champion. Ali, Holyfield, Vitali, Michael Moore, and Lennox Lewis are the only ones to win 3 championships. I don't think anyone's beating Evander. Evander's a 4-time
4 times.
heavyweight
Yeah.
champion. I don't think anyone's beating that record
Right.
anytime. So I think people forget that Evander's a 4-time heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
Um, so um, it'll be interesting. I know that it'll be interesting to see what 2025 brings for us for the heavyweight division because we got Caballo, you know, I mean Caballo. You're supposed to have a Jogba Bacoli, supposedly.
Yeah.
A Jogba accepted the fight with Bacoli for IBF eliminator. So, you know, a Jogba
Mm-hmm.
Bacoli's a great fight.
Yeah, it's great.
Jarrell Miller supposed to be in action sometime next year.
Yeah,
Um,
because the Chisora fight didn't happen.
no, that
Um,
didn't. That no, that's not happening. And he
because
got
of
robbed
I said
against
what's the name?
Ruiz.
Yeah, Ruiz. He would have won that.
You know, I think that was mainly because of the drug testing. I think they were worried about if he pops hot again, we don't want to have to overturn this joint. I think that's what that came. I don't even think that was like let's just rob him just because. I think that was because look, if it's a draw, cool. If he wins it, then he can do it again. But we ain't trying to have him pop hot. Then we got to no contest or DQ or because if you pop hot, it's a DQ now. Now if you pop hot, it's a DQ at times, depending on what you pop hot for.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a no contest. They would just outright call it a loss.
So I think it's
So
gonna be Otto Wallen fighting Chisora now.
okay, that's cool. That's
Boxer against
cool.
the puncher, so
I
Southpaw. Yeah.
Soares last.
I think he said he's gonna have 2 more fights. Wallen and
Oh,
maybe Dillian White.
they fight third time. Okay,
Yeah, he said he'd be down for it.
okay. Well, Chisora's down for anything. Chisora has the craziest record in all of the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
Vitali, Hay, Parker, White,
Mm-hmm.
Watt,
Yep.
Pulev.
Right. Fury
Yeah.
trilogy.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Fury 3 times. Caballo, he fought Caballo. Yeah, Chisora.
Usyk.
He should have a pension set up. Somebody
Yeah.
should have a pension set up for Chisora.
Yeah,
He's
man.
giving back everything there is. If we
Everything.
need Chisora, call him bum journey, but hey, keep the visions going.
Right.
Oh yeah, he got Wallen.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah,
Didn't Wallen just lose to
2025.
some? Wallen just lost to somebody before. Like he lost to some.
Uh
It was a bad loss. I can't remember who it was, but he had a fight, his last fight, and it was a loss.
Yeah, it seems like that was after AJ destroyed him, right? Then somebody else
AJ beat
got
him
him,
up. Yeah.
and then somebody else. I'm trying to think
Was
who
it
it was.
somebody else? Oh no, then it was AJ. Then I thought he was gonna do a lot better against AJ. To be
Yeah,
honest,
yeah,
I
me
was
too.
always high on Otto. Um, I always liked Otto, but I guess everyone got their limits. I mean, I guess there's a reason his best win is out of prime Brazil, Dominic
Right,
Brazil.
right. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, and then and Brazil just disappeared, fell from grace and
Well,
disappeared.
well, with Brazil, he was an Olympian. He was on that American Olympic team with Marcus Brown and Errol Spence. He was on that Olympic team. And what was funny, Brazil's chin is what made him a top 10 heavyweight. It wasn't
His chin ain't
power, it was
bad.
his
His chin
you
ain't
know, his
bad.
chin his chin is what made him a top 10 heavyweight. He had a great chin and he
Yeah,
had great durability and he never got tired. So he just outlasted guys for the most
right,
part until he ran against Wilder. No,
right.
no, AJ. He fought AJ.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
AJ
fought
softened him
AJ and
up.
Wilder.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all that was. That's all
AJ
that was,
Bagley. Yeah,
But yeah, it was once and once a guy like Otto Wallin was able to hurt him, at that moment you gotta realize I ain't got speed, I ain't got power, I ain't got footwork, I ain't got defense. My chin is what made me a world class fighter. If I ain't got that, I ain't even finna do this no more.
right. So
It's a
that
good
was a smart decision.
it's a good self awareness. They was asking Gary Russell Jr. if he was coming back anytime soon. He said, "I wouldn't even be the same fighter if I've thought about it." He said his shoulder. He said his shoulder's so messed up from the shoulders, from the surgeries and stuff like that, that he wouldn't really have the speed and snap on his right hook like he's on his left hand like he's supposed to. So I mean, his career. He said his career is pretty much done with outside of coaching his brothers.
And then what's his name came back. I don't know if he came back in just for one fight, just to retire again. Abner Mares.
His eye.
Oh, okay.
That's what happened. So Abner was always a pretty good fighter, borderline great, and he had a detached retina, and he had a detached retina. He had got surgery on it, fought again, then he had to get another surgery on it, and then he wanted to, from what I heard, he wanted to fight. The entire time he hadn't been fighting, he wanted to fight. He had even been cleared to fight, but Al and some individuals who had been with Abner from the no, Abner was with Al from when Al before PBC. You know, so Al was trying to look out for Abner as Al does for his guys, and gave Al a Fox job. He gave him a comment. He got him a commentary job. Hey, don't worry about money. You ain't got to fight no more. I got you a job. You're still in boxing, but Abner still wanted to fight. So that's really what happened. Hell, Lamont
Oh,
Peterson
okay.
came back just to get knocked out by a guy under 500.
Mm.
Lamont Peterson came back and they gave him a fight, not with Barry Hunter. Barry Hunter wasn't even in his corner no more. And Lamont had a fight with a guy who had like a losing record and got knocked out. Like
Mm.
one punch knockout. You know what I'm
Ooh.
saying? So if not one punch, and he got knocked down and couldn't even get up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's just some of those situations where you got to be self-aware and know, look, what made me the man, I ain't got it.
I ain't got it. Right, 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 right.
Like
Yeah.
Amir Khan, you're slow. Your feet are too slow. Your hands good. Your feet are too slow to avoid the punches. And he realized that against Kell Brook.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
with Kell Brook kind of realized I can't make 147 no more. These guys at 154 kind of big and they got skill. You know what I'm saying? Like if Kell Brook continued his career, he'd have been fighting Zoo and Bakram and you know Tony Harrison, big,
Mm,
athletic, strong, technically skilled junior middleweights. He kind of realized, you know what, I'm not going to become champion again. Let me just go ahead and chill out. Andy Lee did the
right.
same thing. Peter Quillen, he's done
Hmm.
pretty much. Daniel Jacobs called it a career after he lost to Shane Mosley Jr.
Mm, yeah. Oh, and just so I don't forget, since it's this is the week of Christmas, dropping Christmas Day, the Clarissa Shields movie, The Fire Inside.
Yeah,
So y'all
yeah,
be in tune for that.
yeah. And I was
Clarissa
recently,
Shields, Flint, Michigan.
I watched her podcast with Andre, which
Me
was very
too.
intriguing,
Yeah,
very
very good.
interesting, and
Yeah,
and it makes sense that the Layla fight could have money was. I'm like, obviously money wasn't a problem. You're going to make the money, but she said it came down to Ali being fight ready, and I'm like, well, yeah, she ain't fought in what, a decade or like a
right.
decade plus. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, so of course it would come down to her being in fight shape. That was a whole issue with Ali. I even hear Turkey's trying to get Vlad another fight.
I was hearing that too in circulation.
Like Turkey's trying to get like Vlad to fight what's his name? Dubois, not Usyk, but Dubois. I'm like, Vlad turns 50 next year.
Yeah, yeah.
Even I saw one interview. Vitali thought about coming out of retirement to fight AJ. When AJ beat up Vladimir, when AJ beat Vladimir, Vitali talked about getting the itch to come back and fighting AJ. And I was like, if anybody could come back right now and still fight, it'd probably be Vitali.
It would be. He's very
if
much a
anybody
gym
could,
rat.
if
Stays in
anybody could
shape.
come, if anybody could come out of retirement off the couch and still fight a top 5 heavyweight, could probably be Vitali.
Yep.
Because not even
Yep.
because Hay couldn't do it,
Nope.
and I always thought if anyone could do it, Hay could. But
Yeah,
the
he was
fact that
nice.
Hay,
He was nice.
I always liked Hay, and the
But
fact
Tony
that
Bellew just
his body, like his it wouldn't what is his knee, like his
his
legs gave,
ankle
like
or
his
something.
Achilles, yeah, the Achilles
Yeah.
gave out.
Yeah, his leg. Yeah.
Bellu has a yeah, but I'm gonna let you go, bro. It was
All
a
right,
great
man.
talking to you. I
Hey,
won't see you
likewise.
again until after Christmas, and you have a
For
Merry
sure, man.
Christmas. If you don't, then Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, all that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have a good day, man.
You too, my man. So peace. I'll holler at you.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to all who tuned in tonight for another episode of us here at Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. Before you exit, make sure you hit that thumbs up in the chat room. Please subscribe for those coming across this feed. If you're popping in, just hit that subscribe button and pass the word along to one or two. If you're at a fight party, y'all all sitting around, 5 or 6 fellas, pull out your phones. Everybody hit subscribe, please. Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. And I'll catch you on the next round. Peace.